Hi everyone, this is Crystal Gaswick, and this is my EDL 850 case study, Internet Use Violations, Threats Over the World Wide Web. First, I want to review ISLLC Standard 5. A school administrator is an educational leader who promotes the success of all students by acting with integrity, fairness, and in an ethical manner. Category 1, Problem Identification and Analysis. What do I know? I know the location. The Roosevelt High School is located in a wealthier area of a large city with residential areas of large lots with well-manicured houses and lawns. I know the students come from affluent families of working-class professionals such as doctors, lawyers, white-collar jobs. Because of this, the students have very stable home and financial lives, are dressed very well, and have access to the latest technologies. Third, I know that Dr. Forbes has been the principal of Roosevelt High School for 9 years. He has been named Principal of the Year and has created a very well-respected reputation for the school and works to hire the most qualified teachers available. Fourth, I know that Dr. Forbes hired Ms. Walker as a first-year teacher to teach specialized science courses. She has her undergraduate degree, her master's degree, and a year's experience of postgraduate work. She's unmarried. She has very high expectations of her students, and her approach to instruction creates a very stressful atmosphere for her students. I know that she has received an anonymous email that led to a website about her that is extremely negative and threatening, and she called Dr. Forbes, the principal, that night to tell him about it. Finally, we know that the plan of action decided by Dr. Forbes and Ms. Walker is to print hard copies of the email and the website and to discuss the issue tomorrow. There are quite a few things that I need to know. First, I'd like a little bit more about Ms. Walker's teaching details, review how she is teaching, how she is grading, and if there's any validation for all the parents that are upset with her. I need to know the exact words of the website and in what context the creator made it in, whether the site was specific about giving out Ms. Walker's address, phone number, etc., if it gave any indication that they were serious about action against Ms. Walker, if they gave any clues about what specific class they're in, and how accessible the website was for other students to be able to see it. Third, I need to know if the technology department has the capabilities to track down where the website was created or the email address it was sent from to help eliminate some of the guessing game. Fourth, I need to know a little bit about Randy's background, the kid that Miss Walker first thought it had to do with it, if he has a track record of this type of behavior. Otherwise, it's just hearsay from a teacher that suspects that Randy had anything to do with the website. I would also like to know the intent of the website. Did the creator want to scare or prank Miss Walker, or was it actually serious threats? And finally, just FYI, I'd like to know a little bit more about the Frank family, if they were one of the families that were calling in upset with Ms. Walker over the stressful environment and lower grades. So the problem identification, Ms. Walker is facing libel defamation written by an unknown student. It is yet unknown if it is a prank or a serious situation. Dr. Forbes believes it was a prank, but Ms. Walker feels uncomfortable with the situation and feels threatened. However, the only suspect is someone Ms. Walker simply thinks is guilty. Regardless of the outcome in this specific situation, Dr. Forbes still needs to address the reasons for the student's dislike and the reasons that she has not implemented the suggested appropriate strategies that he has suggested. My plan of action with appropriate strategy is explained in the next slide. My first steps to address the problem is to contact technology, meet with Ms. Walker, question the students, get the parents involved, provide due process, and then finally, when this is all said and done, discuss teaching strategies with Ms. Walker. So the strategies, I'm going to gather information from technology, talk to them to see if they can track down the website and produce or provide more solidary evidence about who to start with. Second, I'm going to meet with Ms. Walker again to discuss further after she had a night to calm down and think about it to see if there are any other students that she might have thought of or past instances that she has remembered. Third, I'm going to start talking with students. Regardless if Randy Frank is still a lead suspect, I'm going to first bring in students from different classes to question them, and then finally bring in Randy. I don't want to simply interview him first to jump to conclusions if it was not him. This would not be a meeting during which I would take any disciplinary actions. At this point, I'm just collecting facts. Fourth, if at any point I have strong evidence to continue suspecting Randy Frank or any other student, I'm going to go ahead and call their parents or any other parents that are involved to alert them to the situation that's going on. Fifth, I would bring in Randy or whatever student I suspected for due process to let them know about our suspicions, know any disciplinary actions that might happen, and give them a chance to hear their side of the story. And finally, when this is all said and done, I'm going to bring in Ms. Walker again to discuss, yet again, appropriate teaching strategies for her to create a less stressful environment. While I'm not saying that the parents and students involved are in the right, but bottom line is that the parents and students don't like her. We would discuss appropriate teaching strategies, maybe change her grading scale, and effective ways to communicate with the students to get to know them better. Resolving the issue based on promoting the success of all students. First, addressing the issue. I'd have to let the students know that handling the situation in such a way is absolutely not appropriate or the best way to handle someone that they don't like. We don't allow bullying within the school among students, and so it shouldn't be any different about a teacher. This is proving to all students that such behavior will not be tolerated and that they see their limits and the consequences that are handed out. Second, I would give them a chance to explain or apologize to Ms. Walker and everyone involved. This is best for all students because they can see the interaction between the guilty students and Ms. Walker and how she accepts the apology and life moves on. This is a good example of a learning moment for students if they're paying attention. Being that this is a very privileged school, the students will no doubt face similar situations in life and they would benefit from addressing issues head on. Third, if there is still an issue of students not liking Ms. Walker and being boisterous about it, without any suggestions, maybe from the student, she really doesn't understand how to change her strategies. At this point, I would let the students voice their opinions about how they would like the class to go and give them a voice and make them feel like they really matter in this situation. Finally, have a discussion with the parents. Because Dr. Forbes has had such a great reputation and is well liked by the parents, he needs to do his best to maintain that reputation. It would be best for all students if their parents were well aware of the issue, told the consequences of that action, and also given a chance to voice their feelings about Ms. Walker's class, since they're obviously frustrated with their student scores and they're calling into the school to talk about it. My thoughts, debriefing the problem. My thoughts, initially I thought that the students were probably going to be spoiled and snotty being from such an affluent area. I thought that Miss Walker was a passionate teacher who unfortunately was not clicking or on the same page as her students. But then I thought that she should have been more thoroughly supervised if she had already been talked to, but obviously had not implemented any of these suggested strategies by Dr. Forbes. And finally, at first, I thought that Dr. Forbes downplayed the situation by dismissing her for the night, that it was just a prank and not showing any concerns for her feelings. But the more I thought about it, I think it was a good move on his part to kind of calm her down for the evening. My feelings, I felt bad for Miss Walker. She was so new into education and had extremely high expectations that were unfortunately being extremely resisted. I felt concerned that students were manipulative enough to create this website about a teacher and feel that it is going to be accepted and that they would get away with it. Finally, I felt frustrated that Miss Walker could have potentially avoided this whole situation if she would have implemented the suggested stress-reducing strategies given by Dr. Forbes. The first thing I value was consistency. The administration needs to follow a policy related to cyberbullying and produce a consequence that is above or that is not above or below the recommendation by the policy. I value supporting my staff, showing support for Miss Walker, both emotionally and professionally. And finally, I value fairness. In the questioning part of it, I questioned other students before just first assuming that Randy Frakes was guilty. We still do have quite a few unresolved issues. First, the website. Who created it? How public was it? Was it created on school property? Did the parents have anything to do with it, or did they contribute or read it? The guilty student, who are they? What was their motive behind creating it? And then the most important thing is, if they're cyberbullying a teacher, who else might they be bullying or harming along the way? And finally, the policy. What is our school policy regarding cyberbullying? Do we have a strong one? Do we need to go back and review it to make it a stronger policy? Also, the use of media and freedom of speech. If we don't have policies regarding these, we need to sit down and go ahead and write them up. Reflection on Standard 5. As a building level administrator, I demonstrated a sense of integrity and ethical behavior that serves as a model for members of the school community by communication, addressing the issue with Miss Walker right away, both Sunday night and Monday morning, and alerting the superintendent to the issue that was going on, and only telling as many details as necessary to nosy teachers or support staff. I didn't blow the website off. Students and parents need to say that this behavior is wrong and it will not be accepted, and that not just dismissing it as students being silly or pulling a prank, that it was a really serious deal. And finally, following policy. After the guilty student was discovered, I followed district policy in regards to discipline and didn't deviate to a harsher or a lighter punishment than was suggested by the policy. As a building level administrator, I treated people fairly, equitably, with dignity and respect by providing a fair investigation. I didn't jump to conclusions about who might have created the website, and instead questioned all students in Ms. Walker's class thoroughly. I provided fair punishment. I took in all hard facts about the case, and when I discovered the guilty party, I gave them an opportunity to present their side, and then punishing them with what was suggested by policy. And finally, supporting Miss Walker. While wanting to maintain Dr. Forbes' high reputation, I still respected and supported my staff against this type of bullying happening, and was genuinely concerned about how she felt. Finally, as a building level administrator, I demonstrated a personal and professional code of ethics that inspires others to higher levels of performance by providing only as much information as is needed. Any other staff that asked about the situation, I only gave them the basics. The rest of the information I considered confidential and not material to feed gossipers. I made the hard decisions. As indicated in this case study, Dr. Forbes is well liked and has a great reputation. It might be hard for administrators to enforce the hard punishments to not make certain members of the community mad, but professionally I did what was best for all students. And finally, use this as a learning tool. Students and staff should learn from this situation and address media and internet safety, as well as cyberbullying and the harmful effects it can bring against someone.